I take full responsibility for all our counterterrorism operations, including the one that inadvertently took the lives of Warren and Giovanni.
Congressman Adam Kinzinger joins us. Good evening, sir.
Hey, thanks.
I seize upon the words of our reporter in Pakistan when I asked about whether or not it was effective or not degrading al-Qaeda. He said it is, quote, extremely effective, the drone program. So, I mean, that's not very consoling to the families tonight, but...
No, I mean, first off, obviously, we have to put our hearts out and our sympathy to the families. This is terrible. They're going to have to, watch the news coverage of this and talk about their loved ones, and it's a sad thing. The drone program has been effective, but I want to be clear about something. This isn't the fault of the drone program. This isn't the fault even of President Obama. I get what he was trying to do. I was a little disappointed at him saying, I bear responsibility for this. This is the responsibility of al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda kidnapped these people and put them in a position where they could be a legitimate target of a counterterrorism, counterinsurgency operation. I mean, look, the Geneva Convention is very clear about when you hold prisoners, you don't do it in legitimate targeting areas. And unfortunately, they don't follow the Geneva Convention. All they care about is their chips. And these two men were killed because of it. But, at the end of the day, one other thing we need to keep in mind is human intelligence is very important to these operations. I fly intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance. That's what I did in the Air Force, and still you can only get so much information by looking at a facility. People are a blur. You can't identify specific targets necessarily. It's that human intelligence on the ground, which I think we've let kind of go away. Capturing people instead of killing them, taking them back and getting information from them, and unraveling networks like we did in the surge in Iraq, which was so effective.
Why don't we have more human intelligence? And of course, the first thing I think of when I see, if someone says these are extremely effective, why don't we have more human intelligence with ISIS and use them more with ISIS?
Because it's higher risk. I think this is a risk-averse president. I mean, I give him credit for, taking out bad guys when he can find them in some cases, but he's risk-averse. He doesn't like to put special forces on the ground for snatch and grab missions. It's much easier to have a drone over an area and drop a missile that way. And again, I support using them, but at the same time, if you have a very high intelligence or even just a medium intelligence asset to grab him, bring him back, and find out who he knows, find out who he's been talking to, where the rest of his network is, you cannot underestimate the effectiveness of this. And from what I understand, we haven't held a prisoner in American custody in a very long amount of time.
Well, and I should add that ISIS, the ISIS reference, they are just woven in among the civilians. So it makes it impossible to use, I suppose, drones against ISIS.
Yeah, it makes it really hard. You see targets walking around, they get out of a truck, now they're mixed in with a bunch of people. You don't know who's a legitimate target, who isn't. You don't know necessarily if a Hellfire missile is going to kill people that are standing around in innocence. But you know what? If you send a couple of helicopters in and some special forces and they grab that guy, he can tell you who people are, where they live, and everything else, and you can unravel those networks very quickly.
How much are we using the drones these days? Has the program been stepped up or stepped down?
Yeah, it seems like it's been probably pretty consistent. Yeah, obviously we used a lot in Yemen. That's been stopped because of the Houthi takeover and the Iranian meddling in Yemen, which, by the way, has led to the bacteria of al-Qaeda being able to take hold in Yemen there and the chaos, and they're doing that everywhere. I'm sure we're doing, obviously we're doing some over Iraq, some over Syria. But at the end of the day, it's effective in taking out clusters of people, but you're not going to destroy an entire terror network with it. Again, it takes, I think, that human intelligence and that human interaction, but that also takes more risk, and you have to have a president that's not as risk-averse as this one.
And, of course, once again, the sadness for the two families, an American family and an Italian family tonight with the terrible news.
It's really heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's really awful, and you're right, it's al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda could end this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway. Congressman, thank you.